Hi guys, welcome back to Dev Astrology. Today we are going to be doing the reading for the Libra sign for the entire year 2025. Now you can watch this reading both as a Libra rising or ascendant, or if you have your Libra moon as well, then too you can derive your analysis from this video itself. So without further ado, let's understand 2025 is going to be an year full of transits. You have the biggest transit of the year, that of Saturn, which is going to be moving in the sign of Pisces. Then you have Rahu and Ketu. They are also making their movement this year. Rahu is currently in the sign of Pisces and will get into its own sign of Aquarius, whilst Ketu is currently sitting in Virgo and it will be moving in its sign of Leo. Then you have multi-movement of Jupiter coming into play. Jupiter this year is going to be carrying a fast-paced motion. Atichari is what we call, because it is going to be transiting from its current Taurus position to Gemini, and then it will transit into its sign of exaltation as well, which is in the sign of Cancer. Apart from this, you will see some major stay of Venus coming in its sign of exaltation as well in Pisces. And then you have Mars, which has been playing its tricks. It's currently in retrograde motion, but as we move into 2025, you will find that this Mars will be coming back into the sign of Gemini, move back to Cancer, and then move ahead into Leo and further. So let's try and understand over the course of next few months what exactly is going to pan out for you guys Libras. Now, first and foremost, on Jan 27th itself, you will see the first movement of your Lagna Lord coming into its sign of exaltation in the sign of Pisces. Now, this is a very interesting movement because you have to understand that for Libras, not only it is the Lagna Lord, but it is also the Lord of your 8th house. It is going to get exalted in its 6th house where it will be conjunct with Rahu as well, which means there will be a drastic amplification of all karakas of house itself for you. Now, in a way, first of all, it is going to make a Viparit Raj Yoga. Why? Because the 8th Lord is coming in, sitting into the 6th house for you guys. So there is a possibility this is an 11th movement from 8th to 6th, which means that you can have certain unexpected gains during this period. Now, those gains will be sudden and you cannot plan, but you should anticipate since you're trying to learn to rule your planets with Dev astrology. So, with this 11th movement, yes, I definitely see a very sudden, large gain coming in for you, Libras. And hopefully, it should be a positive one. Why? Because it is your lung lord which is getting into exaltation. Number two, you have to understand is that this is also a period where, when it comes to doing some sort of research, learning new tricks, exposing yourself to new kind of learnings, be it occult, be it educating yourself in solace, you will be able to bring lots of discipline, rigor, regimen into play on a regular basis. And as it is a connection with Rahu, we are talking about amplification to the next level. You will be very smart. Sixth house also denotes your workplace. It denotes litigations, loans, any kind of health situations. And this is where you'll have to be tad bit careful as well because health concerns could be bothering you. However, being the Lagna Lord, I anticipate you will be overcoming and making yourself fitter, better in 2025. Now, Rahu's conjunction along with Venus also tells me that Rahu is giving an aspect to the 10th. So definitely what you will observe is that there will be that level of smartness, shrewdness in you where you will be able to tackle the challenges that are coming your way. But at the same time, you are going to put a magnanimous amount of effort with respect to any of these areas. With a Lagna Lord moving 6 places away into the 6th house itself, it also tells me that challenges will be there. Big challenges will come. You will be surrounded by them, but you will have the ability to overcome those problems as well quite amicably. Why? Because it is Venus. Venus is a very soft planet like Jupiter. And though it has its own trickery, but it will still give you the right mechanisms to overcome them. You have to understand if people are facing any kind of litigations or loan related problems, you should be able to overcome those challenges too. However, I will recommend not getting into any bigger financial situations unless until you have well planned them for. Cut your coat according to your cloth is what my advice to you would be. So do not stretch the situation afar as long as you feel comfortable in handling those situations. Why? Because this Rahu is going to give you a tendency that you have to make some big investment, big calls, big loans around it. And that is the only tricky bit that I'm worried about. Venus's presence here will also enable you overcome the physical ailments that you're going through, because Venus is a healer at the end of the day. But guys, remember, this Rahu and Venus will also be aspecting your 12th. So unknown enemies, unknown challenges that are expected your way, you will be able to counter them without you yourself being aware. So that is the best part. It's like some magic is happening behind the scenes in the universe, just that it's not in front of your eyes. So you are going to be blessed from that perspective. And this conjunction is going to be there for 110 days. So for about 3.5, 4 months, starting from January 27th, you will be in a good space with respect to this. Now, keeping in mind that Rahu and Ketu are in your 6-12 axis, which is a beautiful axis for you guys, you've been able to tackle a lot of your enemies. You've been able to tackle the problems that have come your way. Yes, it has given some mental drain because it is all happening in your 6-12 axis, but fear not, you will continue to do so until the mid of the year. Before I talk about the transit of this Rahu and Ketu, I would want to draw your attention towards the transit of Saturn, which is happening on, just let me refer to the dates here. Yes, it is on 29th of March. So it is a very interesting period because this Saturn is currently placed in your 5th house. It is the lord of your both 4th and 5th house, and it will be transitioning into your 6th house, where it will get conjunct with this Rahu and Venus as well. So what is going to happen is that around this period itself, you will have a multi-planetary positioning in your 6th house. Rahu, Venus, Saturn. At some point in time, Sun will also get conjunct along with Mercury. So you see a lot of action will be happening at this place. Now the important bit to note is that whilst Saturn is in conjunction with Rahu and Venus, it will form a Shatruhanta Yoga for you, a very strong Shatruhanta Yoga. Means you are going to overcome your enemies. But at the same time, this Saturn will feel tad bit uncomfortable because it is in conjunction with Rahu. Once Rahu moves out of this house, Saturn will be able to bless itself in a much positive way. You have to understand that all your leanings from 4th and 5th perspective will now be coming into play in the 6th house. It is also the house of competition. So students who are watching this video, this is going to be a great time for you to overcome any kind of challenges with respect to your education. You should be able to crack your competitive examinations as well during this period once the transit of Saturn has taken place. I think you will find yourself very well placed in this scenario. The second bit that you have to understand is that it being the lord of 5th, you will have to be a bit careful with respect to your romantic affairs and relationships. There could be certain challenges. Lack of mental peace with respect to these areas might crop in. You will have to be watchful with respect to your investment strategies too, because Saturn coming in from being the lord of 5th into 6th is going to bring in certain hurdles in that aspect. And Saturn doesn't like short play. It doesn't want you to be gamifying or being speculative in your mindset. So be very rigorous in terms of following a strict disciplinary approach with respect to any kind of investment strategies you follow. Why? Because this Saturn is also giving an aspect to your 12th house. Now, Saturn will be giving an aspect to the 8th house as well. It is not going to be a very impactful thing. I do not see much of a concern with respect to this. Why? Because Saturn's aspect is in the sign of Taurus, which is a friendly house for Venus, given its relationship. Remember, Jupiter is still placed in the same house in the same sign of Taurus. It is forming a Vipreet Raj Yoga, or rather the Parivartan Yoga with Venus during this phase. So the impact of 6th and 8th will be very high for you. From a 10th aspect of Saturn perspective, you will get that aspect to your 3rd house. This is a beautiful aspect in my mind. Why? Because Libras, you are going to now gather all your energy and direct it towards hard work. If you are able to maintain your regimen, if you are able to maintain discipline, you are going to exude that confidence in your hard work, in your labor, in your day-to-day activities as well. It is going to reflect in your communication because you will somewhere or the other feel confident in how you are expressing if you are putting in the right efforts as well. You understand the communication and action go all along, and that is what this Saturn is going to help you enable, folks. So it is a good movement from that perspective. Now, the true transit of Rahu and Ketu will happen somewhere at the end of May. But right before that, right before 29th May, the first transit is that going to be of Jupiter in May, around 14th and 15th of May, where this Jupiter will now transit into your 9th house. Remember, guys, Jupiter has been stationed here for over a year. And when it moves into the ninth house, being the lord of your third house and your sixth house, it is going to bring you some luck, some fortune at your workplace. People who are in job, people who are working under employment somewhere, you are now going to get some support from your seniors, superiors, bosses. You could also find some growth for your father as well during this period. Yes, Jupiter is in an enemy sign of Mercury, but I don't find it to be a bad situation because naturally, from a Kal Purush chart perspective, this is Jupiter's own house. So for you guys, Libras, this is going to be a very good movement. You are also going to see a possibility of probably taking some long term pilgrimages or short term getaways as well during this phase itself between May to October. I would urge you guys to follow, a regular Vishnu Sahasranam or puja of Shivji in any shape or form because it is going to bring you a lot of blessings from your superiors. Listen to the suggestions, orders coming in from your bosses because that might result into your growth. It could result into a career shift in itself or promotion within your current job. I see the possibility of all of it panning out for you. So that's a very positive transit. But right after this transit will be the movement of Rahu and Ketu because now Rahu will be traversing from your sixth house to your fifth house in its own sign, whilst Ketu will be coming into your 11th house of gains. So this is a very interesting movement, folks. Now, once Rahu is coming into the fifth house, all the challenges that I was anticipating with respect to your romantic pursuits, etc., should rather come to an end. In fact, you will become very clever in terms of dealing with your romances, dealing with your partners and stuff. It will also be giving an aspect to Jupiter. So Jupiter will have, tad bit uncomfortable situation for a while. Why? Because Rahu is going to feel much stronger in this placement when compared to Jupiter, who's sitting in its inimical sign. Do not worry, both of them will be aspecting to each other, but yes, the scale will be tilted towards Rahu in this case. This Rahu is also giving an aspect to your 11th house as well as to your Lagna. There are going to be some wild expansionist ideas that might come to your mind. You might want to take up some big risks. Please be cautious about it. I'm pretty sure with the presence of Saturn in your sixth, you would be watchful in all those areas. But at the same time, this Rahu is going to give you a lot of creativity. It is going to push you to the zealth to explore things that you've not tried before. People who are in the investment areas, you've got to be cautious because Rahu will push you to take some major risks during this period. You might also find situations of minor injuries or health problems coming in with respect to your kids if you are parents watching this video. So please be mindful of that as well. Now, Ketu's presence in your 11th house, if you are not running behind any desires and goals, if you have that goal charted out in your mind, but you're focused towards your karma and not focused towards the outcomes, you are going to see some stupendous success. Guys, I've felt this by myself. Whenever I've pushed myself without the expectation of results, I've seen this Ketu delivering outcomes because in the transit for Scorpios, it was in the 11th house. So I will urge you, Libras, to please keep that in your mind and you will see positive outcomes in terms of money too. Remember, Ketu doesn't deny money. In fact, it can bless you with a lot of money that any other planet can. So you have to focus towards what Gita says, karmanyevadikaraste. Be spiritual or be detached towards your desires, yet work towards them as your goals and objectives, and you will see the success coming in. Now, this Ketu is going to be given an aspect to your third house, to your fifth house, and very importantly, to your seventh house, your house of marriage. And that is where you will have to be a little bit careful because Mars is not in a very comfortable situation in the first half of the year. It is going through its movement in the ninth as well as the 10th house. Yes, directionally, it's a good placement for that. But once Mars comes into the 11th house and then respectively 12th, I think things will then become to smoothen up for you. So from your partnerships perspective, relationships perspective, I would want you to be careful, practice caution, be mindful in terms of receiving what your other end is calling out. You have to also understand that Ketu will give positive results with respect to marriage as long as you are not expecting some material outcome. So people who are running their own businesses, people who are trying to establish new partnerships, or people if you are watching from your spousal relationships perspective, what I would urge you to do is bring certain level of spirituality in your dealings. Bring that level of detachment. You should not just think about your own gains. think of win situations, both win situations. How do you tackle scenarios in that mindset? And then you will see that this same Ketu is going to reward you with the right outcomes. Now, as we move ahead through the course of the year, you will realize that this Jupiter, which is moving from your 8th to ninth, will be transitioning into your 10th house in the later part of the year. It will happen at around 18th of October, where Jupiter will get in exaltation in your 10th. I definitely see, Libras, that you are going to get some fantastic outcome with respect to your workplace. Whether or not you are in a job or in a business, you are going to shine with your efforts during this period. See, 10th house, Jupiter is also a Karaka. Directionally, it doesn't get strength in that house, it prefers the 4th. However, it is a Karaka of 10th and your karma. So it will be blessing you with its aspect to your second house, debilitated aspect to your 4th house, as well as aspecting his own house and sign, 6th house of Pisces. So you have to understand, folks, that once it gets into exaltation, you will see trickling down effects of your karmas in terms of your outcomes as well. You will find that you will be putting in a lot of smart efforts towards your workplace, towards your initiatives. In fact, you will receive social acceptance and respect as well, Libras. Both Libra rising and moon, you have to consider this from both these aspects. I also see this as a period, the last quarter of 2025, where you will be adding to your savings, you will be growing your wealth, because the aspect of Jupiter is in its, and by this period, Mars will also be in a very comfortable situation. In the second half, it will be traversing around your 11th, 12th, Lagna, as well as second house. So it will be getting into very comfortable situations from all those perspectives. And I see you guys adding to your savings, adding to your growth. Yes, there is a debilitated aspect to your 4th house, which means that there could be certain level of displeasure, mental peace, lack of mental peace that might come into play. You might have to be watchful with respect to your mother's health as well during this period. But overall, I do not see any negativity coming in from Jupiter. It is possible that you might face certain problems in your household, in your home itself. You might have to undergo certain kind of repairs with respect to your assets. It could be your house, it could be your car, anything of that sort. But it is not something major that might hurt you big time. Important point though to notice, Jupiter's aspect to his own sign into the 6th house of Pisces will be very pleasant, which means that all the efforts at your workplace, especially if you are in a job, are going to give you positive outcomes. Other bit is, even if you are not in a job, it is the 9th aspect, which means that on a regular basis, any kind of challenges with respect to finances, loans, health, they will all be taken care of. So the first half of the year is where Venus is tackling that problem for you. And then in the last quarter, it is Jupiter that is taking over. So majorly from a health perspective as well, I see very blessed positive outcomes. I see this is a good year with respect to relationships. It is a positive year. Of course, you have to refer to your natal chart as well, because transits at best are going to give you a 20% impact. They are just like the messengers of what is going to come from your natal dasha. And if you want to get an analysis of this transit along with your natal chart, if you have questions around it, consider taking a consultation with me. Reach out to me on my email or my Instagram DM, and we can happily schedule a session where you can figure out what this 2025 is going to do specifically for your chart. I hope, guys, you've enjoyed this reading. If you have, then please smash on that like button and subscribe to Dev Astrology. Thank you for watching. Om Namah Shivaya.